Peace, everybody. It's your brother, Mr. Holipsism, here with Minister Dawud.
What's up, y'all?
Peace to everybody in the chat room. Glad you guys came before we even started. Nice. You ready to go? Nice. We got Ronin Black, Efosa.
Peace.
She that black militant black Buddha, the longest YouTube screen name I can think of. And of course, Bell Thanos. All right, y'all. So we get about to get into it. You know, this is all about satellite communities tonight. And I just want to start off with that term, satellite community. And there's different types. You got satellite states, satellite nations. So let's start with satellite state. The term satellite state designates a country that is formally independent in the world, but under heavy political and economic and military influence or control from another country. The term satellite nation was first used to describe certain nations in the Cold War. So that's where the term came from. These were nations that were aligned with, but also under the influence and pressure of the Soviet Union. The satellite nations of the Cold War were Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and East Germany. Now, to get closer to what we want in terms of how we view satellite nations, you would have to look at Chinatown.
Right, which we went through on the way home.
Right, exactly. Chinatown is an ethnic enclave of Chinese or Han people located outside of mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan, most often in an urban setting. Areas known as Chinatown exist throughout the world, including Asia, Australia, the Americas, Africa, and Europe. So that's just the context for where this term satellite community, satellite nation. Now, what we use is satellite community,
right,
which is similar to a Chinatown. And basically the term satellite community, aka AfrikaTowns, within the context of an African-centered progressive and black nationalist independent nation state, refers to communities anywhere African American and African diaspora victims, descendants, and P.O.Ws of the transatlantic slave trade scattered throughout the diaspora, living as second and third class citizens within these foreign lands reside, i.e. Black Wall Street, AfrikaTown, etc. So that's basically where we're coming from. The term satellite community, where it's most closely aligned with the Chinatowns. Like from that perspective, it's anywhere Black African people are, African-centered, you know, people, there's African diasporans, victims of the slave trade, you know, all of these foreign lands that we're scattered in. So that's America. That can be anywhere where we don't control the land.
Right.
And how would we develop these communities within those lands compared to how we're doing it now?
Right.
And why we can't get any traction doing it now, minus the nation state.
Right.
So I'm gonna lob that alley-oop up to you.
Peace and love, brothers and sisters. How y'all doing? Peace and love to all our good brothers and sisters in the chat. Peace to Bell Thanos, Brother Ron and Black. Peace to all the people. Dada will probably be in pretty soon. We had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. BAI meetup. First one in New York City. I'm glad that we did because, you know, New York had to do something. And it was good. It was very positive. It was a good conversation. Had a couple of brothers there. And we all, you know, ended up walking to go get some shoes afterwards. So I actually finally got to meet Max X11 in person, commonly known as Brother Mark. Brother Kofi I met in person. It was a beautiful thing. We're really moving into a good progressive space now. And I'm just glad to be a part of it. And the one thing that you knew when you was at this meetup, which I'm pretty sure happened at your meetups in the various different cities, was nobody was the head. Nobody was the leader.
Right.
Now, of course, you know what I'm saying, Big Brother Holip was in there, so his light was shining. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, it was very good, man. It was good. I had my daughter there with me, and you know, she ended up having some good conversation with Brother Mac. But the brothers, they sat and they talked about a lot of different things. We dealt with a lot of different issues, but we just got to know each other. And that's what your first meetup should really be. You shouldn't come to your first meetup talking about, let's talk about, you know, quantum wave electricity and how that, you know, don't go that deep on your first meetup. Like, try to just meet everybody, find out what everybody does for a living, talk about how everybody would fit in and things like that. And that brings to mind something that I will talk about later. So, satellite communities. Holip gave a perfect analogy. If you think about it, brothers and sisters, you and I have been confused, basically moving from one of those definitions to the other, talking about nation and really not talking about communities. And when you look at Chinatown, you look at Crown Heights in Brooklyn and various different other places where an ethnic group controls a certain area, you have to remind yourself that even though that ethnic group controls that area, they don't own the infrastructure.
Right.
So in other words, the Jews may control Crown Heights, but they don't own Con Ed. They do not own and control the electricity that comes in. They still got to call Spectrum or Verizon to hook up files or hook up internet. They still have to call the various different people who control hard infrastructure in order to in order to facilitate a normal living experience in their town. To be able to live the same quality of life that we all live in America, they don't control that, but they dominate it. You understand what I'm saying? And so you should look at this. And after we have these couple of shows, because we're not going to be able to cover all of this stuff, and that should help you understand why BAIO exists and why we say we need a nation of our own off the shores of America. Because when you say that you want to fight for it because we built this and we can do it right here, well, now the reality of it is that the Jews in Crown Heights, that actually you can't even really limit them to Crown Heights, because over where my brother was having his 50th birthday party, they're starting to dominate that area also. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter because they still fall under the same flag, got to pay the same amount of money, you know, to the same power companies and infrastructure companies. So they control the area, but they don't own the area. That's to us and the BAIO, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Holip, that is our definition of satellite community. It's an area that we control, but we do not own.
Right.
You want to answer that, big brother?
Yeah, because even the Jews, even though they have their own EMS, they still have to coordinate with the EMS of the state.
Right.
You know, even though they have their own quote unquote Jewish hospitals, they still have to coordinate with state law.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if there's a crime committed in Crown Heights, it's not like they don't have to deal with the police.
Right. Like y'all think.
You know what I mean? It's not like everything. I mean, I'm quite sure in every neighborhood there's certain things that's handled in-house.
Right.
You know, because when you control your area, you have the option of doing that. You have certain things that you could take care of on an in-house level, and you don't have to bring out outside authorities. But it depends on the level of the crime.
Right. Speak on that.
Because when the dude back in the days killed the black kid, he had to escape and go to Israel.
Right.
Like if he had stayed in the States, his ass would have been in jail. So that's just, you know, it's like, which gets into another thing where the nation state comes in relation to a satellite community.
Right.
Because they had that nation state of Israel, he had the option of leaving America and going somewhere where he could be protected.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
And brothers and sisters, before y'all get on Facebook, not saying that we should be able to commit crimes and have a nation state to protect us. Okay? Before y'all go crazy, we're just saying that he got a fair shake in his situation because he had a nation to go to. The whole idea that gives a perfect analogy, a perfect example of why you should have your own nation state, because he was able to then be tried by his own people if they did try him, and not be tried by somebody else who he knew it would be a bias. When you, okay, so here's the thing for me, and man, this is going to get away from kind of what we're saying, but it's going to bear witness to it. When you down with the whole boycott thing, okay, you say you down with the NFL boycott, you kneel because of police brutality, you kneel because of injustice in America. That's your answer. In all reality, your answer should be to help build your own nation. Because if there's police brutality and the cops are getting off for beating your people, then you should build a nation that would give you a just judgment instead of always being under somebody else's system where they don't get a just judgment. Now, I want to say this, and I know Holip will join in on this, but I had a situation earlier where I was talking about this new gentleman that basically got nominated to be governor. Not governor, got nominated. And black people all around Facebook are going crazy about this. They're like, oh my God, you know, we got a chance to have a first black governor in Florida and all this other stuff. First of all, brothers and sisters, don't you think it's kind of sorry that it's 2018 and it's just now happening? 2018. So you're telling me all of these years, you know, you had a black president before you had a black governor in Florida. That's kind of sorry. But nevertheless, when you look at it, it's like you're saying that we need to fight for this right here, but at the same time, you just now getting a black governor in Florida. And what that tells you is that the system is rigged against you, and you got to work for a lot of years for things to be equal if it ever happens. So if you had a job and somebody told you, yo, you know, listen, it's all about pulling up your bootstraps and really getting to the top. It may not, you know, you may not get there tomorrow, you may not get there the next day, but if you work for 15, 20 years, eventually you're going to get it. How much money will you make in that 15, 20 years? Will you make minimum wage? Will you be undercut? And then you look at another person who's supported by the company, and within 4 or 5 years, they're making what you're going to make in 10 years. Mm. You got to look at that. And that's a situation I was in years ago when I was in the locksmith game. I was working for a company that promoted white people ahead of me. And there was people that came in there that within 3 or 4 years was making what it would have took me. I calculated it took me 10 years to make. So I wisened up and I went back to school, and then I got into electronic side of security, and I was making what I wanted to make within 3 years. And so that's an equalizer situation, but we're talking about freedom, justice, and equality. How many years do you have to vote, work, pay taxes, and take an ass whipping before you get freedom, justice, and equality in America? And this is why we say that anything you build here has to be a satellite community, because you don't control nothing. So you really can't tell what comes or goes only within your borders. And even then, you still got to answer to somebody.
Right.
So the definitions of satellite nation, satellite community, satellite city, satellite country, these all we really need to study, because what we're really trying to create is a satellite community. You can't build a satellite nation in America. They won't let you. You know what I'm saying? You can't do it. But you can build a place that you control. So I guess I'm going to ask Holip if you got anything to add to that before we get into how it's going to look.
Well, there's one thing I want to touch on and bring me back, you know, like it's a little, it's in line with what you talked about, but I don't want to go too far off the rails.
Sure.
But you mentioned this dude who just recently, Andrew Gillum.
Yep.
Remember that time when we groomed Andrew Gillum to get to the point where he can become governor of Florida? Remember that? Oh shit, that's right. It never happened. See, this is my biggest problem with this, and I hate people who jump on a strap after the fact.
Yep.
See, I knew who this guy Andrew Gillum was because I'm into politics.
Right.
I knew who Andrea Ocasio-Cortez was before anybody knew about them. And it wasn't like they were in hiding.
Right.
What a lot of people don't understand is that there's a war going on in the Democratic Party between corporate Democrats and people who say that corporate money and super PAC money corrupts.
Right.
So what they got, so a bunch of people got together and formed this thing called Justice Democrats, and that's just one of them. But there's like all these other names. I can't give them all off the top of my head. But they basically their main theme is we run candidates that don't take super PAC money, and this guy was one of them.
Got you.
So he's been on shows. He's been on talk shows like progressive talk shows, Democratic progressive talk shows. So I've heard of him. I've actually seen interviews with him. He was on the Young Turks.
Okay.
He did an interview with Cenk Uygur. This was before anything happened. So it's like what bothers me is how we don't have nothing to do with propping these people up. We don't know anything about their policy positions. I mean, if you ask the average black person, what is this guy's policy positions? What does he believe in? What is he pushing?
They don't know.
They don't know. All they know is he black.
Yep.
And the only reason why you know he black because you heard about his name on a radio or a TV station after the fact.
Right.
And then you wonder why people don't fuck with us.
Exactly.
You know, I keep saying this over and over again. You keep wondering why these people who come up without your help, without any of your influence, without any of your support, they get on. And then the next thing you know, they become part of the black community now. Now that you made it, now we're going to bring you into the fold, brother.
Right.
We're going to bring you into the fold, sister. And then you wonder why people don't want to fuck with you? Then your issue is, well, how come they ain't working? How come Alexandria, whatever her name is, Ocasio-Cortez, is not working in the interests of black people? Well, what, do you even know who she was?
Word.
Were you a part of her campaign? Did you go out there like banking for her? What did you do?
Right.
You didn't know about her until she put in the hard work and reaped the benefits of her hard work and the people that worked with her. Now all of a sudden it's about your interest. That's all I want to say about that. It's like we and it ties in, it doesn't really go too far off the rails because it ties into what we're talking about with satellite communities.
Right.
Because if we really were on it like that, we would be producing these candidates and putting them into office like these Justice Democrats and all these other progressive groups are doing.
I gotta ask a question, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is not to you. It's to the audience. Do you have a problem with that? Do you have a problem with us having a satellite community and still trying to influence political policy? Do you think that we should just be quote unquote separatist and be in our community like Amish and not try to deal with the world at large? Is that how you think it's supposed to look? Because remember, today's show, my goal of today's show is to get our people, all of us, thinking, what would a satellite community look like? That is the new question that people ask. If you had such and such and so and so, what would it look like? So we now want to cut through the conjecture and the myth, and we want to ask you, what does it look like? And what Holip said is a beautiful example of that just now, which is if you in fact control the entire territory like the Jews did and the Chinese did, should you control policy? Should you try to groom a candidate? Should you try to control city hall? Should you try to do anything like that? And my answer to you is everybody else is.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. You would say, I'm not into politics, I'm just into separatism, I just want a nation of my own. Okay, cool. But do you understand, moron, that you don't know what the hell you're talking about? Because if you have a quote-unquote nation of your own, which we just proved is not a nation, it's really a community, then that means what? That means that the price of all of the infrastructure essentials is affected by what, Holip? Politics.
Right.
So in other words, you're going to say, I don't give a damn about politics as a person. Now, I can understand you as an individual because we don't have satellite communities right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you control a sizable community with hundreds of people there, and that community with hundreds of people are all on board for national pride, you have a host nation off the shores of America that you pay allegiance to. And now you will vote in the best interest not only of that nation, but in your local community. You see how
Right.
this is how it works?
Exactly. Let me build on that.
Please do.
this is, and I think that this is the misconception that a lot of people have about my position, because I always say fuck politics and fuck voting and all this other stuff, but I don't mean, what I'm talking about is within our current context, fuck it, because we
Right.
don't have an agenda.
Right.
Now, if we have a nation state, or I should say when we have a nation state, then it takes on a whole new ball game.
Right. Right.
Then now, if you have entrepreneurs over here in America that's doing business with their nation state, doing direct trade. That's direct trade between us and our satellite community. That opens up, first of all, a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurship here in America or anywhere where we have satellite communities, where our people are at.
Right.
If that opens up entrepreneurial opportunities, which means employment, then of course, that means that your neighborhood is going to start to take on a different complexion. It's going to look different.
Yes. Yes.
Then grooming candidates to pass legislation and work laws that work in your interest becomes a strategy that I can get into.
Right.
See, this is the thing. We deal too much in like these. I've noticed that a lot of black people want to move the chess pieces around without first establishing the we.
Right. There you go.
And that's what Belle always talks about. And I love the way she put it in a way that I didn't even think to put it. And now I'm using her terminology. She says, we're creating the we.
Yes. Yes.
So everybody wants to engage in this back and forth chess match with the white man without actually having any type of tangible, concrete foundation in order to do battle.
Right. Right.
Basically. So ask yourself a question. If you don't control the area that you live in and you don't have a nation state, you have to basically, well, I'll ask this, how do you think you get a job, or what type of jobs are you actually going for and looking for under those circumstances? Now compare that to where you have a nation state, you're doing trade with your nation state, you're actually forming political blocks within your community, because now you have a reason to organize. Now the people can see the fruits of their labor, because it's pretty hard. Like, it's hard to get people to commit to something if they don't see an end game.
Right.
But if they see an end game and they see development going on, they see what's actually happening, then yeah, they say, oh shit, yeah, I'll vote. Because voting works in their interest.
Right.
See, I'm not against any, like, and Minister Wu said that he mentioned that I said this before, and he said that it was deep. In America, I'm not a conservative because I don't have anything to conserve.
Right. Right.
In Afrikanistan, I'll become a conservative because now I have something to conserve.
Right wing too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I would have something to conserve in America. So I'm not against conservatism. You know what I'm saying? I'm not against liberalism. I'm not against, these are all tools.
Right.
What you got to ask yourself is, what are those tools working in the interest of? Does it work in my interest to be a conservative in America and protect American interests? How does that work for me?
Right. It doesn't.
You know, so my thing is, like, if you're in America, you don't want to, you're not going to be a conservative because no conservative policies work in your interest. You're probably going to be a liberal, or you're going to, if you're not in politics, you're going to say that you're a revolutionary.
Yo, time out. Did you see that show on O.J. Duke Jackson's channel with that dude who was defending the white people in South Africa?
I saw as much as I could take. I think what did it for me is when the fucking indigenous American jumped on, and I'm like, what is he doing here? I'm like, why are we listening to this? We're talking about white farmers in South Africa. What is shouldn't he be in a TP somewhere?
Yes. Oh my God.
What is he doing? What is he doing on the African farm? So once I heard him, I kirked out.
Yo, I couldn't even get that far, bro. When that dude was sitting there and he said that, I swear he said this, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, I know, you know what I'm saying, they had apartheid and a lot of black people died, but the thing is that these white people, and the way he just glossed over that part of it, just made me want to find that dude and suplex him. You know what I'm saying? How dare you? How dare you say something like that? How dare you come out of your mouth and say, well, I know a lot of black people die, but what is the but?
But
Yeah.
I know that they were oppressed, and they had a system of an actual government approved a system of oppression. But
Right. I couldn't listen after that, bro. I really couldn't listen after that. I
some
said, you know.
moron, actually, somebody sent me a video, right,
Mm-hmm.
of some guy. I don't know who it was. But he, remember, like, I don't know if you've seen this thing. It's something about some hair, like they were protesting or something outside of a hair place,
Yes.
salon. Did you see
Yes.
that? I don't know exactly, but they were pointing to that. Like, they put that first in the video, right?
Right.
And then they showed like the black women was getting into it with the black men and blah 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 and fighting outside of this hair shop. And
Right.
then he segued from that to go into um a bunch of STEM people building like this what they call that thing, the collider,
Uh-huh.
whatever that, I forget the name of it, the something collider. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, why are you comparing STEM people to a bunch of people outside arguing in the head? Shouldn't you be comparing that to our black intelligentsia? Like, that's more of an accurate, like, if you're going to compare two groups, I
Right.
can understand the concept of you saying, instead of us out here arguing in front of the hair shop, we should be doing STEM. But the people outside the hair shop are not going to be involved in STEM.
Exactly.
So why are you making that comparison? It's just another. See, this is what happens when you have a hatred of your own people.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you try to make a point that's going somewhere, you're still going to take swipes. Because you ain't
Yep.
got no love in your heart. All you there to do is just to show that we ain't shit.
Yep. Listen, I remember a couple of years ago, after there was a split and we became independent, branch of the nation or whatever. So, our headquarters is in Canada, and we had a meeting in Canada, and because we were independent, we were doing a lot more work than most of the independents were doing. They all came to Canada to see what we were doing. So nevertheless, I'm sitting at the table with this one dude, and he's like, I follow Black Muhammad, I don't follow Muslims, whatever. And at the same time, every time he talked about a person who was a non-Muslim, it's like the disdain and the disgust he had. Like, those dead people, some dead, there was the Negroes had a fight over at the bar the other night, and they was killing each other. And I said, wait a minute, son, like, what do you mean they? Like, that's us, that's we. Oh, I'm not one of them. They dead and this, that, and the next thing. I hate that mentality. I swear I hate that mentality.
Me too. And it's usually the people that have that mentality is the people that's just into this.
Right.
Don't really have a history of dealing with these subjects and stuff like that. They come into the game late, and now all of a sudden you are super, super black, and everybody else can go to hell. They can get killed. They can be eliminated. They can be finger snapped. It doesn't matter because they ain't shit, and you got it all figured out. And conveniently, you happen to be on the side that's gonna live. Conveniently.
Right. Lucky for you.
Yeah. I wonder how that worked out. What a coincidence. It's always funny that everybody that wants to kill somebody, they always on the side of the people that live. Like, just as an aside, I was talking about Thanos the other day.
Uh-huh.
And I love Infinity War, love the character, love the movie and everything.
Right. I do too.
But Thanos was full of shit.
Yep.
Thanos was full of shit. When you look at it, his whole thing was resources, taking up resources, too much mouths to feed. We can't do this, da 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 da. So then why wasn't he a part of the finger snap?
Right.
Because who was taking up more resources than Thanos?
Exactly.
And I said, who deserved to actually die? Gamora's mother or Thanos? Who was taking up more resources did you see the throne room that he had? Gamora said that she couldn't stand.
Mm-hmm.
How much space was that taking up for one man? You could have moved some houses in there.
Right.
And I make that point to say this. Everybody wants to sacrifice and always wants to put people or use people as collateral damage, be very careful of those motherfuckers. You do not want people like that in power.
Right, right, exactly.
You don't want people like that in power, because when people like that get in power, you become collateral damage. The people,
Right.
you become pieces on a chessboard for them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a human being. See, if the way that I look at nationhood, if there's a family in my nation who's going broke because their father is sick or their mother is sick or something is going on, that's an indictment against my nation.
Right.
What can we do to help that person so that they don't have to live that level of existence? That's what I'm thinking. I look at you're a person that's a part of my nation. You're a citizen of my nation. I'm supposed to protect you. I'm supposed to make sure that you and your family are taken care of.
Right.
They even do that in the goddamn mob.
Right. Exactly.
That's like a checks and balances thing in the mob. Like if you really pissed off at somebody, right, and you want to quote unquote whack them, are you prepared to take on their family? Because that's what you got to do.
Right.
Well, you think you're gonna whack the head of the household, leave a mother as a widow and the children without nothing? The mob has to take care of that family because they're in the family. So who's gonna take on that? Who's gonna take on that respect? That's a checks and balances to prevent people from just going off because you angry.
Right.
Because if you kill that person, you got to take care of their mother, you got to take care of their wife, you got to take care of their children. You got to make sure that they are provided for on a monthly basis. So that kind of curbs your enthusiasm when it comes to wanting to kill and whack somebody.
Hell yeah. And let me add something to that, big brother. You know, brothers and sisters, listen, I know y'all get tired of us talking about this side of nationhood, but we have to reiterate that, yo, you just don't know what's going to happen to you from today and tomorrow. You could be one of those, only the healthiest survive, and everybody that's kind of frail or whatever, they need to die. Then you come down with cancer. And now all of a sudden you in that boat.
Right.
And you would like us to have the same level of compassion that, you know what I'm saying, that we have for the less fortunate when you was not less fortunate, now that you are less fortunate. And you just never know. Like you could even in a nation of your own, you could get hit by a car, you could get bit by a snake, something could happen to you and you could become frail. You would want somebody to have the same level of love and respect for you as they did for the other people. And that's why I just can never understand why people advocate for. I just don't understand it. I really can't, because people think that they're healthy and they're gonna be healthy for the rest of their life. People who smoke cigars be talking about how, you know, oh, we need to kill all of these people. It's like, nigga, you smoke cigars, you're gonna die. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when you do contract one of the diseases that's associated with that, the question is now, do you expect us to just basically leave you to be eaten by lions, tigers, and bears?
Right.
Or do you expect us to try to take care of you? And for me, it's like, you know, I was one of those guys at one time in my life when I was younger. I was one of those guys who was like,
We
you know,
all were.
strong.
We all were. At one point, like Malcolm said it. If you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, he said when he first got knowledge, he wanted to use that knowledge as a weapon and knock the white man out. He wanted to beat the white man's ass with knowledge every time he had a chance to.
Right.
And that's just a natural response because you've been lied to all of your life. Now you get the truth, and now you want to make sure everybody hear it. You want to challenge. You want to do all. But then after a while, it gets to the point like, wow, why am I doing this?
Right.
Like, what am I trying to do exactly? Is this about my ego? Like, what is the end game in this type of behavior that I'm engaging in?
Right. Exactly.
That's just
Exactly.
what normal, like, so it's okay if you're there, but you have to grow, and people can grow. I've grown. Like, I didn't come out the womb talking about land infrastructure nationhood. Land infrastructure nationhood was a conclusion after years of bullshit.
Yes.
Years of bullshit. I'm talking about conscious community bullshit. I'm talking about religious bullshit. I'm talking about all types of different ideologies and stuff till it gets to the point where you can look back and kind of hone in on what's important and what's not and come up with a tangible, functional ideology.
Right.
So this
Right.
didn't just happen out of thin air.
Right. Yo, So, brothers and sisters, here's the thing. Because we keep harping on what's important and what we should be thinking about right now. For me, there's still some questions that we have to ask ourselves about. If we had a satellite community, what would it look like? So now we've already established that it's not a satellite country, it's not a satellite nation, it's a satellite community. We've already established that. And hopefully we'll probably reestablish it next week for people who weren't here. But let's talk about the day-to-day situations. Now that you know that you really don't control it, now that you know, because there's people there that control me sometimes and say, oh, we need separation and stuff like that. Okay, so now that you know that you control it, but that you dominate it, but you really don't control it, and that you have to go to somebody else for the resources, let's talk about your day-to-day things. If you get sick, where do you go? We're gonna have our own hospitals. Okay, hospital is a for lack of a better words, it's an energy sucker, because there's massive amounts of power that go into powering the hospital. Whose infrastructure are you going to use for that? Now, I worked in a hospital before in electronic security side, securing all of these things. We had a power plant. We had a cogeneration plant. I don't know if you know what cogeneration is. We had a chiller plant. There was a plant, a building set aside just to pump frozen gas into this hospital. All of these things needed a backup generator that was tested once a week. And so I'm just giving you a glimpse of the kind of professionals that's needed for your own communities. See, we have been spending so many years just throwing this out, nation of your own. We need schools, doctors, schools, hospitals, farmland. We've been throwing that out there for so many years. I think we don't know what the hell we're talking about in 2018, because it's become a slogan. So we never really ask the questions. Many of us never really ask the questions, what is needed? In your nation, is you going to be wearing Jordans? Is you going to be wearing Pele Pele? Is you going to be wearing Polo? What kind of clothing are you going to wear? Are you telling me that we as a people, we will knit our own clothing, we will make our own clothing? That would be cool. That would be cool. But these are things that you need to ascertain and you need to begin to think about. Because I think that a lot of people think, yeah, man, we're going to have our own nation. But you think you're going to be wearing Jordans in that nation. And you think you're going to be wearing all the materialistic stuff that you wear from outside. And if you do, you do. But understand that if you do, that means you are spending your capital outside of your nation. And if you're spending your capital outside your nation, it's not a nation. It's a community.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, ain't even a community.
Word.
It's not, because community, like, I don't want to give people the impression that communities are not desirable. Like, we want communities,
right?
No matter where we are. Like, if we're in another country, we want a functional community,
right?
So a community is a good thing. I know that we make fun of community here, like Kala does, and me and you sometimes. But what you got to understand is the reason why we're making fun of that is because it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
People keep referring to something that does not exist.
Exactly.
We don't have a community. And the reason why we don't have a community is because we don't have a nation state where we control policy and that we do direct trade and business with. Right. So if you don't do that, first of all, I'm still want to ask the question to people, where are you getting your jobs from? If you don't have a nation state and that nation state isn't doing trade with you, where's your industry coming from? Where's your jobs? Because when you have entrepreneurs should be able to employ people. That's the reason for being an entrepreneur. You want to employ people. I would be, you know how good it must make you feel when you have a successful business and you have Black employees that are able to pay their bills and take care of their family. How good that must make you feel. I would love that, but we got to start having some industries. Because when I looked at like that chart, did you see that chart that I put up of the Black spending power and wealth in this country?
I did, bro. As a matter of fact, one of the good brothers that just added me reposted it.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw yours and his.
Is that not sad? Look at what's at the top of the chart. By a long shot. It ain't even close.
Right.
beauty supplies. The #1 industry that we pump, I think it's to the tune of 68% or some crazy. I'm not in front of the chart right now, so I'm just don't take that quote literally.
I'm pulling it up right now. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Go.
I wish there was a way for me to post it in the
Ethnic hair and beauty aids. Black spend 54.4 million. The total spending is 63.5 million.
And what does it have percentage wise?
Yes, 85.65%.
Oh damn! So I was undercutting it.
Yep.
I was undercutting it. 85% on beauty and like health, beauty and what?
Beauty, ethnic hair and beauty aids.
Ethnic hair and beauty aids is what we spent the majority of our so-called wealth in America on. An industry that we don't control. And people want to talk to me about doing it right here. People want to talk to me about not having a nation of your own or having a nation state. We actually having that conversation.
Word. And let me just interject and tell you, brothers and sisters, when Holip said that the distance between the top one and the second one is large, the top one is 85.65%. The next one is 22.37%. That's
and what
huge.
industry is that?
What'd you say?
What industry is that?
Women's fragrances.
Well, that's not too far from the first one.
Right.
It's all under beauty and health and all, beauty aids and all that other stuff. So it's not much difference.
Nope.
What's after beauty? What's after those two?
And you got feminine hygiene, which I think is important. I'm pretty sure you do too.
And that falls pretty much into the same thing.
Men's toiletries, personal soap and bath needs, frozen unprepared meat and seafood, refrigerated juices and drinks, shelf-stable juices and drinks, spices, seasoning, and extracts. That's way down at 16.13%. Bottled water, 15.75. I didn't know we spent that much on bottled water. Insecticides and repellents, gum, 15.20% for gum, shortening and oil, household cleaners, detergents, cookware, and at the bottom is charcoal logs and accessories, which you probably would use more if you own, more of us own homes.
Wow. That's all I'll say. Wow.
Yep.
That's all I will say.
So this is why, brothers and sisters, I'm asking these questions. I'm not trying to be condescending, but for me to use the analogy, are you wearing Jordans in your own satellite community? The reason why I say that is because look where we're spending our money. And when a person tells us, y'all gonna go to Africa with your Negro mind, well, look at this list right here. Like, if you're gonna do it right here, I want to ask you, are you gonna do it right here with your Negro mind? Because there doesn't seem to be any sign of let up here. And for you to have a healthy satellite community like we would want for it to be semi-independent, we need a lot of professionals, brothers and sisters. A lot of professionals. And I hate to be the dead horse, that does not have a goddamn thing to do with morality. There's so much that needs to be covered before you even think about code of conduct and so-called morality. It's not even funny. Now, mind you, in order for the satellite community to be civilized, for it to be organized and controlled, yes, of course, there will be definitely a code of conduct and a code of morality, without a doubt. But the point is, we can't even think about that until you really have the necessary people in place to make it functional. Because, quite frankly, who's going to make your sneakers? Are you going to be standing online waiting for the new J's to come out? Or are you going to go to your good sister, Belle Thanos, and get sneakers from her? Not saying that Belle sews, but maybe she does sew. But I'm just using her as a placeholder. Are you going to go to the good brother over here to get your jacket? You know what I'm saying? Like, good functional satellite community has enough professional people to deal with just the bare necessities, as they say in Jungle Book. And if you don't have the necessary people to deal with the bare necessities, then quite frankly, we're not having a discussion yet. Because we need somebody to provide clothing, we need somebody to provide food, we need somebody to provide shelter, but we also need people to, like, for instance, for me, when I talk to sisters and brothers and they talk to me about homeschooling, homeschooling is a good idea. In a satellite community, your homeschooling objective would be different. Because if you're just an individual in this nation, what are you homeschooling for? You're homeschooling to make sure your child is not brainwashed. In a satellite community, you're homeschooling so that your child will take on and build an industry in your satellite community and make your satellite community a viable power. No?
Right.
So there's a difference, and it takes on the difference, the meaning. So in other words, homeschooling is much more meaningful in a satellite community with your own nation off the shores of America than homeschooling in America. Because let's be very honest, when you homeschool in America, you're basically just trying to make sure your child doesn't pick up white supremacist morality. You can type in the chat room and tell me if I'm wrong or not. But that's basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to make sure that your child grows up with a Black African mind and doesn't get brainwashed. That the nightmare of your child running around in the mall with Becky with a miniskirt on, hollering at white boys, that doesn't become reality. That's what you're doing that for.
Can I put it in layman's terms?
Sure.
You don't want your kid to do crack, but you want to raise him in a crack house. I mean, it's that simple.
Word.
You don't want it. It's an old term. I tell you, I was looking at these Southern terms because my family's from the South, and they got these crazy ass terms. I always thought they was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the terms in the South is, when you shuffle, you deal.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. And it makes perfect sense. It's like you ain't never seen a card game where somebody shuffle up the cards and they don't deal them out.
Right.
So if you shuffling, you dealing.
Yep.
And being in America is shuffling. Being in America, having the white man in control of the infrastructure, having the white man in control of your reality is shuffling. And
right.
you're gonna deal.
Right. Right.
It's like a porn star saying, I don't do anal. Bitch, yes you will. What, you got standards now? You're in the porn industry. You'll do what we want you to do.
Right. And if you never
That's what makes money.
If you never do it, that doesn't mean anybody's ever going to respect you, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you going for? Yes. If anything, they're going to disrespect you because you're killing their buzz.
Right.
So, yeah, it's crazy. We want to be in the midst of garbage, but don't want to get dirty.
Right. Right. It's like,
but you know what? Let's get back on track. I want to get into the ins and outs of this satellite nation.
Sure. Go ahead.
Question to you. I'm gonna throw you an alley right here.
Sure.
What would be the difference between how you're living now compared to how you would live in an functional African satellite community?
Whew, man. I'm gonna try to make it short.
You don't have to. We got time.
Man, brother. What would be the difference? Difference number one is my stress level.
Right.
Difference number one. Difference number one would be my stress level. Because if I'm living in a Black African meritocracy, then I know that basically everything is geared towards my success and my victory. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm born here and I'm entitled, because, you know, that's the kind of thing that we be telling, you know, white males, which is that, you know, you mean to tell me you was born in America and you still failed?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's embarrassing, because everything here is geared towards making life better for you. And if you failed, you're really a failure. But for me, you know what I'm saying? Like, being in a satellite community, man, that would be different, because then I would know, you know, yes, I know I still have to fight, but I still have more of a fighting chance, and I'm fighting against less resistance. That's number one. Mm-hmm. What would be different also is that I think that a lot of what I would have to worry about, because everybody, you know, most of y'all know who's on the show know I got 5 children, 4 girls and 1 boy. I would know that I'm in a place that's geared towards my children's survival. So in other words, like, you know, Holip, you went to the Million Man March, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so brothers and sisters, listen, we both, me and Holip, think the Million Man March was a scam and that, you know, we have very bitter feelings about it. But the one thing we don't have bitter feelings about is the way it was and the way we felt that day.
Right.
Because it was beautiful. And you knew that if your child got lost in a crowd of men like that, your child was getting back to you. You knew that. You did not think that some pedophile was going to run off with your child, because that day, they would have made sure your child got back to you. You know what I'm saying? Everything in that whole mall would have stopped. And they would have said, they'd have held that child up and said, whose child is this? Right. That's the difference to me in a satellite nation, where everything is geared towards my survival and my betterment. And I know how we are as a people when we really get together in the right environment. I don't give a damn what anybody else says. I know that when we get together in the right environment, we do beautiful things because we're a spiritual people, we're a naturally loving people, and when we're a naturally caring people. I don't care what nobody says. I just know that when you're a pot and you're in the wrong, a plant and you're in the wrong pot, you're going to grow how that wrong pot is shaped. It's just that simple. So that I know also. Also, for me, how my life would be different is today I wake up every day trying to figure out how I can be successful as an individual. In my own nation, every day I would grow up thinking about how I can make the entire Black nation successful in my own satellite community. Those are some of the things that would make it different for me.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking, and I want to ask the people in the chat room, especially the brothers, wouldn't it be nice if in the morning you go outside and you say good morning to your brothers and you hold the door open, give them a smile, and it's all love, rather than walking out having an ice grill because you don't want people to think that you soft?
Right.
Wouldn't it be nice to let go of that shit?
Yep. Boy,
With your own people, you know, with your own people. One thing I will say, you know, there's little pockets of communities within communities. That's another thing. Like you may have a building where the people in that building respect each other.
Right. Right.
You know? Like I can say that in this building, the people that I have really good neighbors in my building, my particular building that I live in.
Right.
Our neighbors look out, like as neighbors, we look out for each other. So like, let's say we can do stuff in this building that you probably could not do in other buildings. Like if UPS or something comes, they can literally drop a package at the front of my apartment door and nobody will either fuck with it, or if they see that it's out there for too long, like on one case, I was away for like a week and my neighbors saw that the package was just sitting there, they would take the package and put it inside until I came back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the type of stuff that I feel we don't experience, we don't really because it's so unbelievable to us.
Right.
Like things where acts of kindness or people being kind to each other are things that we're just not used to. And and the funny thing about it is we've internalized it to the point where we've made it to be a sign of weakness.
Yep.
So a sister being paid a compliment, just a straight up compliment, oh wow, you look beautiful today, sister. It's not just taken for what it is.
Right.
There's always this defensive, the Star Trek defense shields go up, and then now all of a sudden there's all this other stuff going on. And it's like, it's a fucking compliment.
Right.
Have we become so fucked up that we can't even look at a compliment and just take it for what it is?
Sadly, yes.
I don't give a damn. Listen, I've had homeless women compliment me.
Right. Me too.
Women, homeless, who will say, brother, you look good today. What do? I go, oh shit, she homeless. Let me get the fuck out of here. I go, yo, to me, I'm honored that somebody in a position like that would take the time out of their life to actually pay me a compliment.
Oh, I've hugged homeless sisters that said that before.
Of all the stuff of all the problems that this person probably has and is dealing with, they went out of their way to say, wow, you look good.
Right.
And I'm supposed to what? I'm supposed to put them down because they're homeless or because they're not in a good position? See, I want to get as far away from this dysfunctional bullshit and get my people into a functional situation. I want our people to know what it's like to live functional lives.
Right. Me too. Me too.
And the only way you can do that, you got to control the environment. You ain't going to do it in a situation like these people who's against young folks with their pants hanging down. Okay.
Dear Lord.
I mean, if that makes you feel good about yourself, if that makes you think you're taking some huge stance and that you keeping it real, knock yourself out. But the bottom line is that's what you focusing on.
Yep.
That's like that's that Sarge from Soldier Story mentality.
Right. It's the Sarge that used to call in what you call it, to speak the collar sometimes.
Yeah, that mentality. It's like you're more concerned about how our people react and respond under oppression than the actual oppression itself.
Yep. Yo, let me ask
you. So your whole thing is centered around how, and then what you do is you use yourself as an example. Well, look at what I did under these circumstances when you didn't come up under those circumstances.
Right.
I look at Richard Pryor. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
This topic. What do you think a satellite community would do to the gender wars?
Oh, I've said this many times. First of all, in my opinion, there is no gender war. It's a molehill that's been blown up into a mountain. I believe that situations and issues between men and women have been here since the beginning of time.
Right.
Men are always going to be men. Women are going to be women, and there's going to be ways that we look at things that it's not the same. It's all a part of the relationship game.
Right.
So anybody that's out here thinking there's going to be some utopia where men and women are always on the same page, good luck. Obviously, this is a person who's never been in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because I love my girl to death. Love her. But me and her get into it.
Right.
It's what it is. It doesn't mean that we fight and our relationship is based on fighting, because it's really not. Like when we're together, for the most, I would say about 95% of the time, we're cool.
Right.
95% of the time. But there's going to be times when y'all get into it. There's going to be times when she do some stupid shit that you say, what the hell is wrong with you? And you're going to do stuff that she going to say the same thing about you.
Yep. Yep.
So what?
Yep. And that can't be solved by going to Brazil.
Thank you. So what? What, you don't think your Brazilian wife is going to give you some problems?
Right.
She's a woman. You're a man. There's going to be situations that arise from women and men all the goddamn time. And I never really felt that black women was against black men. I've never felt any black man that really feels in his heart that black women as a whole are against black men is a fool. You ain't going to be in my circle.
Right.
Because you're just delusional if you think that.
Right. Well, not only are you delusional, but you bought the okie doke, because that somebody had to rise up and start saying that bullshit for you to actually believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, bros, we might as well go this way because the black women have been against us. And it's like, I be hearing this stuff like, y'all serious? You know, was your mom against you? Well, I can prove that. Word?
Well, you know what? If your mom is against you, then I don't know what to do for you, son. My mom wasn't against me. Exactly.
I give you a perfect example. I went to my brother's 50th birthday party, and man, I don't party, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't drink, I don't smoke, and nothing like that. But you know, it's his 50th birthday party. He wanted to see me, and he wanted to see my daughter. So I went down there, and I didn't think I was gonna stay long. I just wanted to see him. All of a sudden, man, you know, you got those cousins that come around. Like, you got cousins, but then you got cousins that you got memories with, right? Mm-hmm. And when they come around, it's on, you know. So those two cousins showed up. They both, you know, I've been knowing these dudes since I was like 8, 9 years old, and they got the same memory I got. So it was like, yo, Ace, tell a story when this and tell a story when that. So make a long story short, yo, I laughed so hard I had an asthma attack. You know, I literally had an asthma attack. I was laughing so hard. And my mom was there. My mom had come up from South Carolina, and my mom went right into action, went and got me her medicine, her pump or whatever. And I felt better than I felt in like the last month and a half. Mm-hmm. And so after something like that, I would be really full of shit for me to be out here saying the black women's against us, they're attacking us. I would have died out there.
Right.
And
No, she's not
y'all
against
have seen
us.
me on Facebook. I'm black.
She's not against us. And to be honest with you, whenever I hear, like, I can distinguish when a sister is definitely against black men, like a Cola Booth, that freaking lunatic and psychopath,
Yeah.
or when a sister is actually expressing genuine hurt.
Right.
I can tell the difference. I can distinguish.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not against the sisters who's saying that they hurt and they disappointed in black men, because I'm disappointed in black men. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that black men have just got it all together, because we had it all together. Why are we in this position that we are in?
Yep.
Why don't we have any control over any fucking thing? And I'm not, listen, I'm not into the blame game.
Right.
Because I don't want to blame black men, and I don't want to blame black women. We're all in this fucking ship together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Black woman ain't got the, you can talk about all the bullshit, all the advantages that the black woman have. And you know what I have to say to that? Her advantages are just incidental. Do you think the system sat back and said, how can we make black women's lives better? Any benefits that she gets from that is probably like some bleed over benefit that white women have gotten.
Right.
Just the mere fact that her gender is a woman, then she can benefit somehow from all the laws put in place for white women. They weren't putting law in place for her.
Right.
So, you know, I'm tired of these one-dimensional thinkers, man. I'm just tired of these one-dimensional thinkers. It's like I said, I made the analogy before. When a person says that we can't have this or we can't do this, it just reminds me of a person who has medicine. Your child needs medicine and they don't want to take the medicine, and you just throw up your hands. Well, I guess that's it. He don't want it, so I guess he's just going to have to die. You, as an adult, can't figure out how to get a child to take medicine. So I present you with a problem, and the mere presence of the problem makes you throw your hands up. Like, I hear it all the time. Oh, we can't get no land in Africa. We can't? Really? That's your position? We can't get land in Africa. Can't? Are you seriously thinking about what's coming out of your mouth right now?
Word. You sound like a tour guide.
You can't do this. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. And we can do whatever the hell we want to do.
Right.
If we really want to do it. There's nothing that we can't do.
Right.
And if you ain't intelligent enough to figure out how you can get land on the continent, I don't even want you involved in the conversation, because you're incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of 1,000 ways to get land on the continent. 1,000. It ain't even hard to me. Because it's the equivalent of how do we get that child to take that medicine? How do we do it? The child don't want to take the medicine. That's your position. They don't want to take it. So I guess it's over, right? You and your adult mind can't think of anything that can solve that situation. See, this is what happens. This is the reason why I love having these groups of people. People that's either in your state, locally, or people that's in your profession, in your field. Because when people get together and they're intelligent people and there's problems, they usually get together and they solve the problems.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they're excited by problems because it gives them the opportunity to work together.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's like nowadays everybody's saying that they're an entrepreneur, but when it comes to nationhood, they don't want to figure out the problem. So it's like, which one are you?
Yeah. Oh, and just to build on what you were talking about, like with the satellite communities,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to answer the question that I asked you.
Okay.
Your life is not really going to be any different than how you live it now, if you're a functional person. Let me just say that. Like if you're doing dirt and doing all that other stuff, then yeah, your life is going to dramatically change. I'm talking about people who's working class people doing their thing or going to school or engaging in normal nationhood commerce.
Right.
You work during the week, You either go somewhere after work and hang out, or you go home. On the weekend, you chill with your girl or your wife and your family and whatever. That's what most people do in a functional society. Very, like I said, people's means are very meager. The only thing that's going to change is the infrastructure. The person who controls the community is going to benefit from your activity. It's like I said, when you can call yourself Hebrew Israelite, you can call yourself a Moor, you can call yourself from Turtle Island and all that other bullshit. Whatever you can be from the planet Ritz. Guess what? You're going to go, in order to get on a train in New York, you got to get a Metro card. So you and your planet Ritz, I don't know who your representative is on the planet, but he's going to send you down whatever coins and convert them into whatever the currency is of the place that you're at. And you're going to get a Metro card and you're going to slide that card and get on the train or get on the bus.
Well, that's another question though, Holip. Okay, so to have a satellite community, do you have a currency and what's it going to look like? My dad always would say to me when I was younger, because my dad is the reason why I'm the nationalist that I am, and I make no bones about that. My dad been talking about, as I've said on many radio shows, my dad's top thing to say is we need the Israel for niggas. My dad been saying that for years.
Right.
And so my dad would always say, reach down in your pocket and find a piece of money or currency with your people's face on it. And he said, you can't do it. And so we have a satellite community. I'm asking y'all, what would the currency look like? And if you spend it a different kind of currency in the community, would in fact that currency spend outside the community? And the answer is probably no. And so therefore, there's a lot of things that need to be worked out here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to put down the community, but I'm trying to dispel the myth. So you would understand that there's a lot more details to work out before you start getting into ancillary, very non-relevant functions. Because, the fact of the matter is that would you use American money inside your satellite community? These are the questions you need to ask.
And the answer is yes.
Without a doubt, because you're in America.
The Chinese use it.
Yep.
In Chinatown, they take American dollars.
Yep.
So it's like we concentrate on the wrong things. It's like because in their mind they think, well, you got to control the currency. Yeah, you don't control the currency within a nation. It's not yours.
Right.
I mean, I can give you plenty of examples of white people inside of America trying to make gold their currency, like gold coins. Right. And they usually get raided on.
Yep. And firebombed.
Yeah, they usually get raided on by the FBI or whatever. Like, listen, and also it's fucking unnecessary. First of all, you're a part of a nation anyway. It's your nation. What the fuck are you trying to secede from it or set up some separate nation within a nation if it's yours?
Right.
That would be like somebody in Afrikan. We create an Afrikan, and then somebody inside of Afrikan decides, well, we got to succeed from Afrikan. Like, nigga, then what you here for?
Exactly. We'll make sure you succeed, all right?
It's your nation. That's why white people in they bullshit. Like, first of all, the South lost.
Yep.
That discussion is over. You can reminisce about it all you want to if you white. That discussion is over. You lost.
Mm-hmm.
The union is intact. Because had you won, the union would have been separated.
Right.
So the union's intact. Your people, and the funny thing about it is you take it as a loss, but you actually won no matter how you slice it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because your people are still in power.
Yep. Your people killed your people, so your people could be in power over your people and our people.
Exactly. So what did you really lose? You lost your delusions. And then we got these delusional Negroes. Like, you concentrating on, you want to control the language. We got to speak an African language. We got to speak a different language than the European's tongue and all that. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. That's cute. Really cute. But it's like I said, it's that same mentality of a person who says, I'm going to beat Floyd Mayweather's ass, and you ain't doing the same things as Floyd Mayweather. You ain't training.
Right.
You ain't sparring. But you talking shit about how you're going to do this and you're going to do that. Like Odas 80. Yo, peace to everybody in the chat room. I'm sorry, we're talking.
Word,
I
I'm looking
didn't
at
even
this,
look
man. It's lit.
Yeah, peace to everybody. And I don't even have to say get the likes up, because the likes are pretty much close to the people that's watching. There's 39 people watching, 23 likes. That's not bad.
Word.
It's not bad.
Get the lights up.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But yeah, it's like your life fundamentally will not change. And if we were talking about this offline, what everybody thinks is a big extinction level event is free sex.
Oh my God! Please
Perpetual bachelorhood. That's a extinction level event. See, I want people to understand something, and this is why Minister Dawud can definitely relate to this, because you've keyed in on this a lot of times. Infrastructure doesn't care about any of your social issues.
Right.
So even if you engage in that type of activity, you're still benefiting the nation. Because you still have to have a job, you still have to pay taxes, you still have to engage in whatever commerce that you engage with. You have to buy things. You know what I'm saying? If you take your women out, where are you taking them? Are you going to the movies? Do we have our own movie industry that you're supporting? You see what I'm saying? It's like everything that surrounds you, all the activity that you engage in, it benefits your nation, because your nation and your people control the context. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking about the nation state. But with the satellite community, at least in that situation, you have a cohesive community of people that want to control their environment. Even if they don't control the infrastructure in that environment, they at least dominate or in numbers the area and control the not the hard infrastructure, but the soft infrastructure of the area. They may not control the piping and the electricity, but they can control the businesses that exist there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We can have fruit stands and groceries and stuff like that, and things that we buy that our people are there, and we don't have all of these foreigners coming into our community, setting up shop, and then taking our money and going to their community. That wouldn't happen if we had a functional satellite community. It would be like Black Wall Street.
Nah, y'all, I want to let y'all know. He did say free sex, not free tax.
Yeah, sex. That's exactly what I said. Because that's supposedly that's going to be an extinction level event.
Right.
A man and a woman, a man who's single and a woman who's single having sex together somehow is going to destroy the nation.
Word. Also, somehow it's free.
Yeah, and it's free. I don't know what that means. What is free sex? Like, so I'm supposed to pay for sex? Like, what does that mean? Free sex? I don't get that.
Yo, it's like I mean, sometimes I have to be really, really pissed off to get angry about that kind of stuff already, because usually it just makes me laugh so hard. Like, what? Free sex? Like, it just makes me laugh so hard. But oh my God, I don't know.
And also, you know, I tell people all the time, I think I'm more of a feminist than most women are. Because to me, the whole argument kind of like puts women in this position where they don't have any responsibility for their actions. If a guy is having sex with a woman, aren't they engaging in mutually beneficial behavior?
Yes.
So how did it get interpreted that, all right, he's just having free sex? Well, what about the woman?
Unless it's rape.
Yeah, what about her? Is she not having sex with him?
Right. I don't know. I mean, these particular kind of situations, I say again, these kind of situations are worth talking about, but I believe that they're worth talking about when it comes to people who have expertise in those particular fields. And so, in other words, if you haven't really studied that and you don't have experience counseling people and researching that, then it's really not anything that you yourself can fix. And by the way, You can't fix it just by going to marry somebody and your marriage works out for 3 or 4 years. You know what I'm saying? That's something that you have to have experience, again, advising people on, helping people with, and researching. And when you do, then, you know, a group of people who have expertise can discuss it. And this is how we do things in the BAIO. A group of people expertise can discuss it. They agree on something. We begin to hammer out policy, and then we take it to the nation. That's the way we do things in the BAIO. We have never, ever snapped our fingers and a law came into effect. We have never, ever decided, I'm just going to do this, I'm just going to do that. And so but I still think that these kind of problems can be solved in a different environment, because it's like anything. That's why I brought up the Million Man March environment. But in addition to that, it's like, I know when black people, when we're together, let's just put it this way. If you think about, if you went to a movie theater during the Black Panther craze with a whole movie theater full of black people, which I was in, actually, like we literally rented out the whole movie theater and saw it. And you saw how people was adjusting to that, how they was, you know what I'm saying, how men was getting out the way for women, and all sorts of things that everybody says should happen was happening. That's an example of what happens in the satellite community, because your flag is flying and people begin to act accordingly, and people begin to adjust their behavior because they understand, I don't have to act like I was acting in America.
Yo, speaking of which, and you can relate to this, it happens on a minute level, on a small level, if you go to a Nation of Islam event.
Right.
People adjust their behavior because the Nation of Islam controls the whatever function, whatever event that they're having. The way that they control it controls the behavior of the people that's there. It's just I've been to Nation of Islam events and I've been around brothers in the Nation of Islam. Their presence is calming to me. It's
right.
very hard to get amped up at a Nation of Islam event.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the way that they have it structured. You come in there, even if you're a dude that bugs out, you just automatically chill. When you see a woman, you refer to her as a sister.
Right.
Without you even thinking about it.
Right. Right.
So this is why I say, why are we concentrating on people behavior instead of concentrating on the fucking context? Because that's what's going to control the behavior.
Exactly. And that's so it won't just be a meeting, it will be everyday life. It'd be everyday life.
I want to. Somebody has said something. Richard Victor Dixon, peace, by the way. I wanted to get your response to this, and also let you know. I think we should I'm probably going to tune out at 10:30 this time, because I usually go to 11, but I know I can't do it today.
Oh no, me too. Yeah. Me too. You know, Victor, I was supposed to tune out at 10, but I just be having so much fun talking to you that.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Richard says, I've been trying to get various personalities out of the black manosphere, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is.
I know what that is.
Okay, involved, but they too involved in just talking and blaming black women. I was on BGS for a little bit, but was out talk. What's BGS? You know what that is?
I think it's Black Guy Strategies or something like that.
Black Guy Strategy? I'm so out of the loop, y'all. Please forgive me. I'm like out of the loop with this. Anything that involves black talking heads, I really have nothing to do with. And like I said, nothing against any of them. It's just that I try to I want to be in. I've been spending my time on the BAIO Ning site.
Well, here's the thing. Me being a minister, I sample just about everything that has to deal with relationships, because I got to talk about it. I sample everything that has to deal with that black people share when it comes to the misery merchants, because I got to teach on it. I don't, totally immerse myself in it because I don't want to get freaking depressed, but nevertheless, I got to know. So when he says manosphere, what he's talking about is the power base built by the good brother O'Shea Duke Jackson called Negro Manosphere. And he's right. There's a lot of people there that are talking about, blaming black women and things like that. And quite frankly, like we're saying, I really believe that it's the context that has to change in order for this whole thing to change. Because, at my domestic violence class that I teach one on Tuesday, I teach one on Wednesday. And one of the things that we were talking about today, we were talking about trust. And I went around the room. Now, mind you, in my class, I deal with men who are basically mandated by parole. So, you know, they've done time. Some of them have done really hard time, like 20 years, 25 years or whatever. And it's really my job to get them to see that, you know, what makes a relationship toxic that puts you in a position where you feel you got to put hands on the woman. Because I don't believe in just being condescending and be like, you shouldn't hit women and this book says this and this book says that. Nobody's going to listen to you. So I try to be down to earth. And what I try to do is say, listen, if you're in this kind of situation, wouldn't that make you think that it's okay? You know what I'm saying? So with that, but basically what I'm getting to is that there's a lot of distrust. And distrust comes from the context and the environment. Because a dude that's locked up for 10, 20 years really has no control over what's going on. So he doesn't know what his woman is doing and vice versa. And because of that, being around a whole bunch of different people who are telling him that women ain't shit anyway and they not doing right, it just amps up his anxiety that his woman is not doing anything. So that's an example of being in a toxic context that makes you distrust the other party strictly because of where you're at. I think this is a really deep topic that we can really get into eventually. The context, because I know we're gonna talk about peace, brother Mufasa. I know we're gonna eventually talk about satellite communities again next week. But for me, it's like every time I talk and we get into these kind of situations, whether it's with the brothers from my DV or brothers from my support group or whatever, and they start talking that anti-woman stuff, or they even talk about distrust, all it makes me do is look at the context. Look at your context. Would you not trust somebody if you was locked up and you had no control and everybody around you was talking that stuff to you also? So that to me is a microcosm of what is really going on in the Black community at large. You're in a community that is oppressed, that's closed, it's very small, and everybody has their idea of who's the problem. Now we on the internet doing this. You know what I'm saying? So even in the internet context, we brought that online to the world and showed the world we got issues.
Right. Exactly. And I want to go scroll back up to Victor. He says, and BGS knows about us, but I've never heard him mention us in his hangout. Oh, this is a person.
Oh, it is. Oh, wow.
BGS. I think it comes down to control and power over an audience. I think it's fear of losing people to us. And that's a legitimate fear.
Yep.
I'm telling you that, like, from that perspective, I can sort of understand why nobody wants to put our name out and nobody wants to mention the BAIO, because you will lose people to us. And I'm not being arrogant or whatever. I'm just saying it's just a fact, man.
But you go anyway.
Yeah, if you have people talking about group interest, talking about people working together and not asking for you to just line their pockets up for you to tell them information. It's like, listen, this satellite community discussion that me and Minister Dawud is having right now, if these dudes were to charge for this, how much would we be charging?
Oh my God. It's like, yo, get the likes up and give us some super chats.
Yeah. How much would we be charging? And like I said, I ain't got no problem with super chats. The only person I super chat ever is Dynast.
Word.
Because Dynast is actually putting in work.
Yep.
So he deserves, if there's any person that deserves super chats and PayPals, it's Dynast. Because you can see tangible results of what your money is going to when you invest in Dynast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't have a problem with super chat concept per se. But my thing is, I'm just getting tired of people who just taking your money and ain't giving you nothing except negative bullshit.
Yo, this comment hit me in my heart. This is from ODOS 80. You can't debate an endgame. That's the mic drop right there.
Boom. See, it's too much show topics, man. When we do these topics right now, these satellite communities, you let me know another show in the Black manosphere or any other sphere where they doing these type of concepts or these shows.
Not at all.
I would love it if somebody was talking about if somebody had a live stream about satellite communities. Where do you think I would be?
Oh my God, I'd definitely be there. And we, brothers and sisters, we didn't even get into the technology side of it yet.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We haven't even touched on that. Oh, Dundada's in there. Dundada. I'm gonna let you know this right now. I don't know if it's gonna be next week because we gotta build on this. We gotta get a little bit deeper into the satellite community thing. But I definitely want you on a show, and we are going to do that land acquisition breakdown.
Oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yo. Okay.
I want you on like
You know what?
so
I
it'll
was
be
thinking
me, you,
normally,
and
but I was
him.
going to say it on air, like my brother, but I wouldn't say brother.
Yeah. It's gonna be me, you, and him, and we're gonna definitely do that land acquisition breakdown. So if you cool with that, then okay. He says okay, good.
Oh yeah.
So I probably set that up not this next week, but probably the following week, or maybe who knows? We might just do it on a Sunday as a who, like whenever we free, we can do it.
Yo, we
Doesn't
should
matter.
probably do something on Labor Day during the. What you doing on Labor Day in the day?
What day is Labor Day? Monday next. This coming
Monday.
Monday. This coming Monday is Labor Day,
Yep, this coming Monday.
which is the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing? I think I'm off.
I know I'm off.
Oh
The question
shit, I'm
is,
off. That means I got an extra day.
well, the question, with me,
Beautiful.
it's always I know I'm off. The question is, am I going to work?
Exactly. Well, I know I'm not. When I'm off, I am not working. Unless,
Word.
well, I don't even consider the BAIO stuff work.
Oh
I,
no,
I
not at all.
really, I really enjoy looking up information and getting information from brothers like Dundada and Macau and different brothers. Ifosa is a beast,
Hmm.
a beast.
Hmm.
I gotta find a way to get Ifosa on the show.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, it's like we definitely got to do a show on that because that's one of the things. Like everybody keeps talking about land, land. We gotta get land. We're gonna go through the whole process of how you obtain land.
That layout is amazing, man.
Yeah, and if you want to be a part of that process, where do you fit in
Right,
this breakdown?
right,
This is what you need to understand. Where do you fit in? Are you a land surveyor?
right.
Are you an engineer? Are you an architect? Are you a coordinator? Like, do you actually coordinate schedules and stuff like that? Like, where do you fall into this since you all interested in where the land is at?
Hmm.
So, like I said, we're going to address everything. Everybody wants to claim that we don't answer questions. We answer questions all the time. You just ain't listening.
Right.
That's
Yo,
what the
I just
problem
want to say this
is.
to you brothers and sisters in the chat room. This is how powerful the BAIO is. One day I woke up and I saw in my email it was a friend request on the Ning site. That friend request was my sister's baby father. I never ever talked nationhood with this dude ever. Never even knew he was even like remotely woke. And he don't live here. He live in Philly. I woke up. I said, no way. I looked at that name. I said, that's not. And as I called up my sister, I was like, yo, is so and so's last name? She was like, yeah. I was like, that's how powerful the BAIO is. The world is going to get smaller, brothers and sisters, because there's a lot of people out there and they love the message. And
Yep.
it's very easy for people to join because there's none of the usual movement or group dynamic BS that we have with just brothers and sisters who want a nation of our own off the shores of America.
There you
And so
go.
for me, that's when I was just like, I mean, I knew Land Structure Nation was powerful already, but that right there, I was like, wow. And this ain't no dude that just be going to corner stores and buying 40s. This is a dude who's a licensed electrician and does very good work in Philly. So
Hmm.
for us to attract somebody like that, that's it's incredible, man. It's just BAIO is growing, it's incredible. So it doesn't matter what's gonna happen. We're gonna steal people from other sites. And then people are gonna go, what's gonna end up happening is people are gonna go back to them and they're gonna say, when I go to BAIO, the sisters are talking about this, the brothers are talking about that, these people are talking about this. Why you not talking about that?
Thank you. And really,
Yo, did
it's
you
not
see that?
a loss, man.
Did you see that?
What?
My 81-year-old mother is joining.
Nice.
Holy mackerel.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
That's a beautiful thing. I'm sorry, what was you going to say?
Um. Oh, I'm a certified land surveyor. Yes, I knew. I know. And you're definitely in the group. And we're gonna get into
that's
that.
all
We want to
good.
get more people. Like, if you're in these professionals, whatever you do professionally, you need to get you in these groups, and you need to start communicating with the people in these groups, because this is what it's all about. It's about getting in where you fit in. But y'all, it's 10:30. I'm about to break out of here, Minister 2. I
Yes.
know it's been short. We usually get into it a little bit more, but I think we whetted your appetite enough for part 2 next week.
Right.
And you said you wanted to do something on Monday. I can do that because I'm off. So if you want to, just let me know. Maybe we can do that show with Dindad. I don't know what Dindad is doing, but we can all, we all have each other's math, so we can hit each other up
Okay.
and we can work it out. But anyway,
Word.
y'all, I'm out of here. It's been beautiful talking with you guys. I wish I could stick around longer, but I got to get myself ready and get to work. So peace, Bell. Oh, and Bell, stop saying you don't fit in on a land acquisition, because we need health professionals no matter where we are. So you fit in.
To be very honest with you, anything we doing, we gonna ask you to be down.
Exactly. Exactly. You're going to be
I mean,
down there. If
above and
not
beyond
just to
your
snap a
specific
finger.
field.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Peace.
And peace, Minister.
Peace, brother.